Hello, this is Lawrence Krauss of the Alpine Union. Welcome again. Today is April 23rd, I believe. Yes, April 23rd. Today I want to talk about the psychology of change and really the mentality that a person has to have in order to believe they can have a difference in the world and change things. And specifically, the conviction that you can dissolve the U.S. federal government or dissolve the EU. A lot of people don't seem to think that that's possible, and they don't have the psychology to do this. I think it takes a certain group of people with a certain psychology to do it, because a lot of people don't have something is missing in them, and I don't know what it is, but I think it has to do something with their thought process. So, why is it important to understand the psychology of change, or the psyche that believes it can change? Well, it involves motivation. If you believe you can change the government or the world in the way you desire, you'll be motivated to do so, and you'll have the conviction to do so, the determination to do so, and the confidence that you can achieve it. There's all the good things that you need to project if you want to achieve things need to be there. You need to feel motivated, show conviction, stick it out, have that determination, and have that inner confidence that you'll win. And that, in some sense, attracts people. They like to see passion, and they like to, a lot of times what's in a person, that will to win, attracts people. That, on that alone, sometimes wins people. And it may be just 5% of people who are turned on by that, but that can make a difference. So I want to talk about two different types of thinkers. They're the dynamic thinkers who move the world, and they see change. They see things changeable, and they look for change, they welcome change, and they want change. And the static thinkers don't believe they can move the world. And static thinking cripples people. It says that you don't really have the power to do it. And this, I've watched enough movements, so I'll just go over. Static thinking cripples conservatism. It cripples libertarians. It cripples Christians. It cripples white nationalists. And it's very disempowering. And it's not sexy, right? If we can just boil it down to something like that. The clearest example of static thinking is this idea of standing before history screaming stop. It's a very weak position. It's the feeling of, or it projects frustration, and it's a doom mentality, and it's weak. Nobody wants to be around something that's weak, and especially the sense of frustration. Of course, I'm frustrated on certain things, but I believe we can overcome it, and I'm just frustrated with how other people approach things. I see it as a waste of people's time, and they could do better. So it's more disappointment in others. So dynamic thinkers move the world, and there's a deeper, you might say, metaphysical sense of things. How do you get to think like a dynamic person? And the good example is, what can you change? What can't you change? Now let's suppose that the earth is flat. You couldn't change it into a round ball. And if the earth was a round ball, you couldn't make it flat. Nature, whatever it is, the biggest, most fundamental things are unchangeable. That's what we have to deal with. We have to play in terms of its rules. But there's other things that are changeable, and these are the things that are subject to human control. And what kind of things are subject to human control? Anything that people chose to produce. So we have 50 states. We can have 49. We can have 25 states. No states. We can be part of the UN. We can get out of the UN. We can have a world government. We can abolish all government. So anything that's political is a social construct, and social constructs are subject to our choice. So once you understand the difference between moving Mount Everest on the one hand versus deciding how many states you want to have or what type of states you want to have, these are all two different animals. And if you keep that clear in your mind, what can you change, what can't you change, what's changeable based on human choice and focus on that, you become a dynamic thinker. And then there's other things you can talk about is how can you change things today? What do you need to do today to change things tomorrow? What things do you need to establish now to make future change easier? And I'll present the plan in more detail, but this is what to develop that psychology of change, the conviction that we can change things has to be in us. Now, there's certain things that are in the culture that teach you not to think of changing things, and that's, don't change things, bear your cross, accept suffering. Who are you to change things? Everything has a reason, just go with it. Suffering and failure is a virtue, and just grin and bear it. I know someone who is going to college soon, next year or next whatever in the fall, and I looked at their tuition, and it's going to be something like $50,000 or $60,000 per year, and they think, well, if they don't get their college degree, they won't get a job, and so they're going to go into debt in the end with more than $200,000 in debt, and they'll be burdened by that for 20 years basically, and they probably won't get a good job, and then they'll end up thinking, oh, I better go back to graduate school, spend more time in school, and still get a shitty job in the end. So this is a death spiral, and you need to break out of it. For the same amount of money that your parents would help you with to go to college, that's your nest egg to start a business. So why not learn what you need on your own time and make something more productive? Nobody really told me that in 20 years ago when I didn't want to go to college, even though I ended up going to college, and I focused on not spending the most money on college. I got into 3 colleges, and I picked the cheapest one because I didn't want to waste my parents' money. So that was a good thought, and also because I was using their money to go to college, I didn't screw around. I became valedictorian, so to me, school was first. I couldn't sort of waste their money fooling around. So revolutionaries are dynamic thinkers. They see the system and they think, all right, where do you need to change things? What do we need to focus on? Let's build up a strategy. And they're always thinking about change. They see it happening in their mind, and they build up a plan and resources to do some change. So they're proposing, probing, and pecking away to get what they want. And who does this, right? It's basically the Jews. The Jews are the dynamic thinkers, and the people who want a static society and keep a tradition, they're always on the defensive. So it's always going to be a weak position, and as long as you have Jews in your society, you'll always be in a weak position. They'll be pecking away at you because you're not crushing them and throwing them out and securing your existence. They're going to win. It doesn't really matter how long it will take, but they'll win. So if you want to be a static thinker, you need to throw the hammer down. And if you're not willing to do that, then the dynamic people will win. So in the same way, if you're a white nationalist or someone who wants to save Europe from racial destruction, we're on the bottom. And so we need to be the dynamic thinkers, breaking up the establishment. And static thinking won't save us. So this is why you have to become a dynamic thinker. And once you do, all the other things open up. So that's it for now.